May 20th, 2020. This is class number 3 on the topic of Humrot. Tonight we're looking at, or God willing, we'll be looking at a few teshubot from Hakham Obadiah Yosef from his 7 volumes of Yehavedat. We're looking specifically at teshubot where he comes up with a halachic conclusion and then he adds this one-liner of המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה. And does it mean that he really doesn't feel that we should be doing the halakha that he said and he wants us to be mahmir? Or is it just a way of appeasing those who want to be mahmir? Or is there a real reason why the halakha is as he says, but there is solid grounds to have cause to be mahmir? And we're going to try to figure that out. So first we'll look at a teshubah from volume 7 of Yehavedat. Now for many years we only knew Yehavedat to be 6 volumes, and only after Hakham Obadiah Yosef passed away did volume 7 come out. It was based upon things that he had prepared for a 7th volume, as well as other teshubot that lay dormant and he never published until that point, or they were never planned for publication. So this is a book that is fairly new. It only came out this year. It came out maybe October, November, if I'm not mistaken. And here we are. We're going to look at it right now. So the first one we're looking at, if you all received the source information, if not, please turn to David Patash for it. I sent it to him. We'll look at Halak Shibi'iyya V'Havedat Siman Qof Mim. Okay, it's on page 238 if you have that volume. And the question is, or the topic is, Shimush Bechle Pyrex V'Duralex L'Machale Basar V'Halab. The use of Pyrex and Duralex utensils for both meat and dairy. And this is a teshubah that he wrote while he was in Tel Aviv. Well, rather it's to Tel Aviv because he was already Rishon LeZion at the time. He wrote this in 1975. שאלה, מאת הגברת מזל יעקבי ממושב עמינדב. האם מותר להשתמש בכלי פיירקס ודורלקס גם למאכלי חלב וגם למאכלי בשר בזה אחר זה, לאחר שטיפה והדחה כראוי? So a woman asked him a question, and can you use these items, Pyrex items or Duralex items, these types of vessels, think of it as plates, cups, even pots and pans, well not pans, but pots you definitely have as cookingware made out of Pyrex. Can you use them for both meat and milk? Obviously not at the same time, but one immediately after the other, after you wash and clean them thoroughly. תשובה, רבותינו הפוסקים נחלקו בדין כלי זכוכית שהשתמשו בהם בחמץ בשאר ימות השנה, אם מותר להשתמש בהם בפסח או לא. So the Hachamim discuss and argue, of course, the way the Hachamim generally do, regarding glassware. If glassware is used for hametz during the course of the year, can you use the same glassware on Pesach or not? שלדעת הרעביה, כלי זכוכית אינם בולעים כלל. So according to the Abaya, glassware does not absorb whatsoever. כמבואר באבות רבי נתן. ולפיכך, מותר להשתמש בכלי זכוכית ישנים שהשתמשו בהם בחמץ בשאר ימות השנה לאחר שטיפה ודחה כראוי. So according to the Abaya, who's basing himself upon Abod Rabbi Natan, even old glassware, something that was used time after time after time for hametz items, and let's say you actually stored beer in this glassware, okay, now you could take it, wash it, rinse it all properly, and go ahead and use it for Pesach. וכן פסק רבנו אברהם בר יצחק אבד דין נרבונה בספר האשכול, חלק ג'. And back even in Narbona, back in Spain, that was the Pesach halacha of Rabbi Abraham bar Yitzhak. וכן העלה הרשב"א בתשובה חלק א', וכן כתבו התוספות במסכת עבודה זרה, תבוא להנחיל קוניה בשם בנותם, וכן כתבו הראש פסחים, והר"ן שם, וכן הסכים בספר המחתם פסחים שם, וכן דת רשב"ס בספר יבין שמועה ובן ירוחם ועוד. So we have a slew of Rishonim, both from the Sephardic camp as well as the Ashkenazi camp, who all seem to follow this ruling and allow it. Ulam. Now it turns the other way. Ulam. But המרדכי בפרק כל שעה כתב בשם רבנו יחיאל מפריז. Okay, now he's going to bring us a French opinion through the Mordechai. He's quoting us רבנו יחיאל מפריז. שדין כלי זכוכית כדין כלי חרס. The law of glassware is like the law of earthenware. הואיל ובריאתם מן החול, because they have been created from hole, from sand. So earthenware is created from earth, this is created from sand, so they fall into the same category. והתורה העידה על כלי חרס שאלו יוצא מידי דופייו לעולם. And the Torah has already given testimony to us that anything that is absorbed into the walls of keli hayres, of earthenware vessels, that flavor, that taste, okay, has substance and never leaves forever. לכן, אסור להשתמש בפסח בכלי זכוכית ישנים של חמץ, and therefore, חמץ items that you use during the course of the year can never be made to be used on Pesach. וכן פסק בחידושי הרטב"א, פסחים בשם הרעה, וראה עוד בבדק הבית, ובשבולי הלקט, והנה מרן המחבר פסק בשולחן ערוך אור החיים, סימן תף נון א' סעיף כ"ו, כדברי רוב הפוסקים, שכלי זכוכית אינם בולעים כלל, ודי להם בשטיפה והדחה בלבד כדי להכשירם בפסח. So after Rabbi Obadia Yosef, علیו went through all the various Rishonim, and he told us the positions of those who allowed using glass that we use for Hametz on Pesach, and those who did not allow. He says, but bottom line is, Maran Rabbi Yosef Karo in Shulchan Aruch laid down the law, and he ruled like the majority of the poskim, meaning that these glass vessels that were used for Hametz during the course of the year, after proper washing, rinsing, etc., can be used on Pesach. Beautiful. You would think that should end it right there. فهرما. Now it quotes Muram, Rabbi Moshe Israelish, بهجها شام פסק להחמיר, שדינם ככלי חרס. But the Ashkenazim, okay, through the Rama, through Muram, say, no, the law is to be stringent, and that is their custom. Among the Ashkenazim, they are stringent. And there are some Sephardim that are stringent as well. But we'll talk, right now he's not mentioning that. ومنهاج السفرديم وعيدوت المزراح لأكل بذيك دبري مرام. Hakham Obadiah is telling us, but the custom among Sephardim and the communities of the East is to be lenient like the ruling of Mara. So here's my first point. He's saying that our ruling is to be lenient. And I don't think that is, really fair. I'm not trying to pick at anybody by saying that our ruling is lenient. I don't think it's right to say it that way. I think it would have been better to say we rule that it's okay and we are not stringent. So again, we're looking at how the terms lenient and stringent are being used, and that's what I'm picking at right now, not at the ruling itself. Okay, so he's telling you that the Rama ruled to be mahmir, and he says we are mekil. כמו שהעיד הרב כנסת גדולה. So כנסת גדולה, as we know, always went and gathered the different sources.
Joey, can I just make a point?
Yeah, Mark. Please. Go ahead. Mark said it. Go ahead.
A lot of times in halakha, though, in studying Talmud in halakha, like it's all relative to the other opinion. If he's saying that we're mekil, it's just relative to the mahmir position. It's going to say asur. It doesn't always mean that he's saying that we're being mekil.
Okay, fair.
Okay, just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, but then he should have written, though, if you want to talk like that, he's saying, Shulchan Aruch said this, the Rama said to be mahmir, okay? And then all of a sudden he says, and the custom of Sephardim and Adot Mizrach is to be lenient. He didn't say that what Maran said is what the Sephardim do. He didn't say that the Rama said, and that is now the custom of the Ashkenazim. Okay, I'm playing semantics over here also. I'm nitpicking at the words, and I'm admitting it. I'm agreeing with what you're saying, Mark, that there's definitely something that we find throughout halachic writing to see, how terms are used vis-a-vis the other thing or in relation to the way a previous statement was. But I think the way it was laid out doesn't, give it that fairness. Okay? Not that Hakham Obadiah Yosef is not being fair. Not that he doesn't rule with Shulchan Aruch and with our minhag. Just the way he laid it out in the midst of the Teshuvah makes it look like, yeah, you know what? Muram said to be strict, but we're lenient. We're like, we don't care. That's the way it can make it sound to somebody. That's what I'm trying to point out. Okay, and I'm not trying to do it in a negative way or in a way that somebody will take it like I'm being belittling, or that I'm being disrespectful. I don't mean it like that at all. I'm just trying to point out the use of words and terminology. Okay, but your point is definitely very well taken and very well known. Okay, so he tells you, Maran, כמו שיעיד הרב כנסת גדולה שם. And we know, B'Chaim Ben Ministry brings out the different points of of those who commented on the rulings of the Tur and the Bet Yosef and Shulchan Aruch, and he lays them out for us. And the Pri Hadash בחזקיה דה סילבה. והרב שולחן גבוה, וכן כתב בספר שער המפקד, ולפי זה יש להורות לספרדים לעלות המזרח כדברי מרן, גם לעיין בשר בחלב, שמשרת הדין כדי פיירקס ודורלקס, שבשלו בהם בשר, מותר להשתמש בהם למאכלי חלב לאחר שליפה ודרכה כראוי. Now you see he changes the tone of his presentation, and he tells you now that since we have testimony from the Knesset HaGedolah, okay, which is being from Turkey, and the Pri Hadash from Eretz Israel, and Shulchan Gaboa from Saloniki, and Sha'ar HaMifkad, which goes back to Yerushalayim, okay, they all give testimony to follow the way of Shulchan Aruch to be, quote-unquote, lenient regarding the use of glass for both Pesach and year-round. So he says, therefore, we have to rule. We have to, give the ruling to Sephardim, okay, to follow Maran, even not only for this glass vessel for Pesach and year-round, but also for meat and dairy. So therefore, he's telling you, Misat Hadin, according to the letter of the law, these Pyrex and Duralex vessels, even if you cook them meat, you could then go and wash them, and you can use them for dairy as well, immediately. You don't have to wait 24 hours, you don't do anything at all. ומכל שכן, לפי מה שכתב בכנסת גדולה ביורה דעה, שאף הנוהגים שלא להשתמש בפסח בכלי זכוכית ישנים, זהו רק לעניין חומרה של איסור חמץ בפסח. Because now, go back to Knesset Gedolah, he's telling you, I know I quoted Knesset Gedolah, but if you look further in Knesset Gedolah, in Yoreh De'ah, in a different section, when he's dealing with issues of meat and dairy, not with issues of Hametz and Pesach, so he's telling you there are those who do not use old glassware during Pesach, and that is only a humrah. It's a humrah because when it comes to issues of Pesach, Am Yisrael, as we know, we all have many, many humrot, and over the generations, we have all taken upon ourselves more and more humrot, and each community has different humrot, because when it comes to an issue of Isur Karet, Am Yisrael is very, very afraid, obviously, and rightfully so. And so everybody has become stringent. There's nobody who follows the exact letter of the law when it comes to Pesach. Everybody has things that they've added on over the course of many centuries in different countries. So even though you're mahmir when it comes to glass regarding Hames and Pesach, but for other things like meat and dairy, nobody's mahmir, is what the Knesset Gedolah is telling us. וכן כתב הגאון רבי יהודה אשכנזי בספר קהל יהודה דור דעה. וראה עוד בשאלות שוות שרידי אש, שהסתמך על סברה זו. So he's saying it's not only Knesset Gedolah, but there are others who say the same as well. אולם בשאלות שוות זרע אמת. Now זרע אמת is somebody who we've quoted in the past. We've never sat down to do one of his teshubot. Really very interesting things. Sometimes they're a bit lengthy and terse, but very, very interesting. So please remind me in the future, and we'll try to do a teshubah from Zera Emet. שהנוהגים להחמיר בחמש, עליהם להחמיר גם ביתר האיסורים. So he says the opposite from the Knesset Gedolah. He's saying that if you're mahmir, if you're stringent regarding the glassware for hamesh, then you should stay stringent. In other words, be consistent and be stringent for anything else like meat and milk as well. But when it comes to setam yanam, it's a different issue, but we're not going to touch that right now. ועל כל פנים, לספרדים ועדות המזרח שנוהגים כדת מרן, יש להקל גם לעניין בשר בחלב בכלי פיירקס ודורקס. So Hakham Obadiah is telling us, but since in any case us Sephardim, we follow the opinion of Maran, we should remain lenient regarding meat and milk with Pyrex or Duralex. ואף על פי שהגאון רבי שלמה קלוגר בשאלות שוות טוב טעם ודעת תליטה, כתב שכלי ראשון שעת האש בולע גם בכלי זכוכית אף לדעת מרן שולחן ערוך, saying that even though Rabbi Shlomo Kluger, who's a contemporary of Hakham Obadiah Yosef, wrote that if you are actually cooking in glassware over the stove or over an open flame, he says that actually absorbs to a point where it cannot become kasher again. According to his opinion, even according to Maran, he says, no, we don't do that. וכן כתב הגאון מהרמשיק, מכל מקום, הפרי מגדים אור החיים, סביב כנב ועוד כתב, שגם בכלי ראשון, שעל האש ששקה בכלי זכוכית, לדעת מרן שולחן ערוך. וכן כתב הגאון רבי יהודה לנדאו, בספר יד יהודה, הלכות מליחה. וכן משמעות הברייתה, בעבוד רבי נתן, כלי זכוכית אינם בולעים כדת. Bottom line is we go back to the bariyata that we mentioned from Abod Rabbi Natan that the Abaya quoted for us, and glassware does not absorb whatsoever. It makes no difference if it's on the flame or not on the flame. And that was the end of the Teshuvah. But now he comes to his sikum, to his summary. בספרדים ובני עדות המזרח שמנהגיהם כדעת מרן השולחן ערוך, יש להורות שמשרת הדין כלי פיירקס ודורלקס שהשתמשו בהם במאכלי בשר, מותר להשתמש בהם במאכלי חלב לאחר שטיפה ודחה כראוי. So he's very, very clear in the summary so far. He says, for Sephardim and those communities of the East, that their custom follows the ruling of Maran, Yosef Karo in the Shulchan Aruch, we need to teach and rule to them that according to the Deen, glassware, Pyrex glassware or Duralex glassware that were used for meat is permissible to use them for dairy as well once you have washed them properly. והמחמיר תבוא עליו ברכת טוב. But he who is stringent, let this good berachah come upon him. Now, based upon everything we read, we see no reason here for Hakham Obadiah Yosef to even come up with this opinion to be mahmir whatsoever. Okay, I'm going to return to this in a moment. אבל לאחינו האשכנזים היוצאים ביד רמה, יש להחמיר בזה שלא להשתמש בהם בבשר וחלב בזה אחר זה. But for the Ashkenazim who follow the rulings of the Ramah, they should not be lenient, rather they should be stringent like the ruling of the Ramah. They should not use the same glassware for both meat and for dairy. ואם בטעות נשתמשו בהם במאכלי בשר וחלב, יש להקל להכשירם על ידי הגעלה 3 פעמים. But if by mistake they did use it for both meat and dairy, then we can be lenient and allow them to do haga'ala 3 times consecutively to allow this vessel to become kasher for them again. ואז יוכשרו להשתמש בהם במאכלי בשר או במאכלי חלב. And then they could use it for either meat or for dairy. So everything we looked at would point us to say there is no relevant source for us to be mahmir whatsoever. You know, because he brought us a slew of Rishonim that all said the same thing. They followed the bariyata of Aboda Binatan, and there's no reason to be mahmir. And the only reason to be mahmir would be follow the Mordechai, who's quoting Rabbeinu Yehiel Meparis. That being the case, why throw in this little adjoinder at the end of the Teshuvah, והמחמיר תבוא עליו ברכת טוב? So I can't figure it out. If somebody has a insight as to why this is the case, I would really love to hear it. I'd like to understand why you think it's so. I cannot understand. So please, anybody, I'll wait till you unmute yourselves and just say anything at all. Somebody, something.
Come on, Andrew, Mark, come on.
Okay, I'm going to throw in a different question. Are any of you personally, okay, and I'm not going to push you for further answers than this, are any of you personally mahmir, that you will not use the same glassware for both meat and dairy?
I'm happy to answer it.
Okay, go ahead.
I have no issue in using glassware for meat and dairy in terms of glasses, plates, and things like that. But the Pyrex cookware that my wife puts into the oven, which no matter how much you clean, always has little black or brown traces of something that's been baked onto it and you can't get it off, we don't use for meat and milk. So we have separate Pyrex baking dishes that go in the oven, separate for meat and separate for milk. But otherwise, I have no issue using glasses, mugs, plates.
Right, but so you're saying that you're not using the stuff that you're using in the oven because it does not fall under the category of shitifa v'hadda. You're not able to properly clean it. But
Exactly.
if you were able to remove those little black dots that you're seeing, then you would use it.
Absolutely.
So you're not sure.
Yeah, no, I would.
Okay. Solomon.
You want to see my closet?
Yeah, one set.
We switched to those Miralex, what it's called. We use one set.
Okay.
That's it. Very happy. Clean it, dishwasher, take it out, we use it.
Right. So I'm asking if there's anybody here that's personally mahmir on themselves. Just to understand. If there's anything that I'm missing over here based
The
upon...
Tavua ala Bercha and Hakham Obadiah is only discussing the Pyrex, you're saying, not the regular dishes.
According to this Teshuvah, it refers to Pyrex and Duralex.
Right, but not right. So the Tavua ala Bercha is only the Pyrex. Maybe he feels that when it comes to cooking, there's a little bit extra more belly out that you might maybe consider.
Okay, but see, all of a sudden, I hear what you're saying, and you might think that, and therefore he answered us when he told us that Rabbi Shlomo Kluger tells you שכלי ראשון שעל האש בולע גם בכלי זכוכית אפלת מה שולחן ערוך וכך כתב מרמשיק מכל מקום הפרים מגדים סבירה קלה ואי אפשר כתב שגם בכלי ראשון שעל האש יש להכיר בכלי זכוכית לדעת מרן שולחן ערוך. So what is the way that we're following? Are we going to follow a Aharon to be mahmir, or are we going to say that that is the opinion, or dat yahida, I will call it, of this particular Aharon, but really the other Hachamim understand the way Shulchan Aruch is written to be that it does not fall into such a category, and it goes back to Rabbi Yehuda Landau, who tells you that, according to the Bariyata, Keli Zechuchit Enam Bul'im Kelal. If inam bur'im kela, that means they do not absorb whatsoever. It means they do not absorb whether they are standing in the cold or whether they're standing in the heat, whether they're on the stove, whether in the oven, or whether they're in your hand. Kelal means kelal. Either they're boleya or they're not boleya. Now, if inam bur'im kelal, what's the reason to be mahmir? That's my question. I'm trying to understand it for myself, and I'm hoping somebody can give me some insight.
No, but his psak obviously is to be matir.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, it's to be matir.
Again,
He's very clear.
He has another saying, and that's what I wanted to bring up to ask you the question, actually, now that you're mentioning this. He has another statement that he uses often, is "Hared lidvar Hashem ra'u le'ahmir." Is that different than "Tavoo ala berachah"?
Yeah, so the Harid Debar Hashem is something that he uses even less often than Hamahmir Tavoo ala Beracha. Hamahmir Tavoo ala Beracha, I went over from throughout the entire Shabbat, and part of Sunday reviewing all 7 volumes of Yehaveh Da'at, just to make sure I found all the cases. There are a total of 25 cases only where he mentions Mahmir Tavoo ala Beracha. Okay? It's not that many teshuvot, obviously. As far as Harid Debar Hashem, I didn't mark them down to tell you exactly, but it looked like to me it was about 3. And then he had also another issue of Midat Hasidut, which was another issue, also another 2-3 cases. So each one of these things may or may not have significance. I don't know. And I'm hoping that by studying these teshuvot together, we'll come up with some sort of insight or some sort of better understanding. Because somebody, who is very, very well versed in the writings of Hakham Obadiah Yosef, both somebody in Israel as well as somebody here, told me that Hakham Obadiah Yosef uses this term when an opinion of one of the Shelosha Amudei Hora'ah seems to be mahmir, and Maran didn't bring it, but there's overwhelming evidence that it's not only the opinion of one of the Shelosha Amudei Hora'ah, but of so many other Rishonim. But in this case, we're not bringing any of the Shelosha Amudei Hora'ah. Hakham Obadiah didn't bring them, and we don't see to get that feeling from him that it's an issue of so many great Rishonim siding the opposite way than Maran's ruling. In fact, the overwhelming majority of the Rishonim that Hakham Obadiah brings us follow exactly with what Maran rules, or rather Maran follows the overwhelming majority of the Rishonim, both Ashkenazi and Sephardi. So it's very, very hard for me to grapple with this and to understand how this was adopted and how this term of Mahmir Tavoo ala Beracha, comes to play. And that's why. So that's one of the reasons I started with this particular teshuvah first, to show us the difficulty and how it doesn't really fit in. All right, now let's find another teshuvah. Let me see where that one
Joey,
is.
though.
Yeah, please.
I think he's just saying about to be mahmir on the Pyrex. He's not talking about glass in general. I think he's just really saying the Pyrex and the cooking utensil.
Okay, and?
I'm just telling you that's okay. So then once that's something ala ish, they could say you want to go by Rabbi Kluger and say, okay, it's a sivara, and other
Okay.
he wants to.
So
I'm just saying if something's ala ish and it's possible it's bolea, and we do see that, like Andrew said, that there is some marks in it. You can't get them out on the Pyrexes. It's not a crazy idea if somebody, there is a shita to say, okay, be mahmir on something that goes in the oven. Other than that, glass is great. You can use it for both.
So I would agree with you if he left it at Rabbi Shlomo Kluger saying something, and then there's others coming to support that same idea. But he practically immediately tosses it out. He doesn't seem to give it much credence. as much as he respects Rabbi Kluger and he quotes him in so many Teshubot, in this case, he doesn't seem to think that he's right. At least that's the feeling that I'm getting. Not just me.
Agreed. He's dismissing him for Sephardim, for sure. But in terms of if somebody wants to be mahmir,
but he's not even saying for Ashkenazim. For the Ashkenazim, he quoted Muram to begin with, and we're done.
Joey.
Yeah, but he says because it's that's why I think the Sikum is telling you it's based on it's a Pyrex issue, and because it's ala ish, okay, somebody wants to be mahmir because it's ish, because there is a shita that says it's bolea. I could see people being a little bit concerned when you're cooking something like that, as opposed to using a glass utensil for cold.
All right, listen,
Joey, I want to ask you something. I was trying to find a book and I just can't put my hand on it immediately. Since Hakham Obadiah died, there have been a number of books that have been written mainly by his children about his own personal practices, what he did. Do we know what he did on this issue?
I do not know. I have not seen that it listed in any of the books of his actions, because they don't cover every aspect of halakha.
No, I know.
So I cannot tell you what he personally did.
Because I suspect that might, to some extent, help us in understanding what he means by that use of the phrase.
I don't think so, because in other uses, he did not follow that. That extra stringency, and in some cases he did. So there's no consistency that I've been able to locate.
Okay.
All right. What's next, Teshuvah? In your PDF there, it just says Siman Ayin Tet. I have to see which volume I pulled that from. Give me a second. There was somebody here before. I didn't know who he was. Anybody know who Nexus 6 was that was here before? And disappeared now? Yes, no?
It's me, Joey Batesh. You kicked me out.
I didn't kick you out. I have no control.
David, okay.
Brother kicked you out.
Sorry.
Identify yourself.
I was using my other phone. I was doing two classes at once.
That means you're not gaining from either one.
I was finishing Rabbi Towel. He started at 9.
No problem. Okay. So here's the next teshuvah we're going to do. On your sheets over there, it should be the third page on the PDF. It starts Siman Ayin Tet on the bottom.
How do we get the sheet? I didn't get the sheet.
Who didn't get the sheet?
I texted you to
Jonah
send me your
Cash.
cell phone number so I could email it to you. I could send
Jonah
it to
Cash, I'll send it to you in a second. Hold on, Joe.
WhatsApp it. Just WhatsApp it.
Yeah, WhatsApp, exactly. Okay, Yosef, you have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Anybody else who didn't get it and needs it?
Got it.
Joe Manso, how are you? All right, the second teshuvah for tonight also is going to be from Yehaveh Da'at. This one's going to be from Helek Shilishi, volume 3. And this is on page 265. Siman Ayin Tet. This is a bit of a different topic. Something we've never grappled with in any of our classes. Here we go. Sefer Tanakh שנדפס על ידי מיסיונרים עם הברית החדשה. האם מותר לישראל לקרוא בספר התנ"ך הזה לאחר שיסלק ממנו את הברית החדשה? You have a Bible that was published by the missionaries, and it includes in it the New Testament. Is it permissible for a Jew to read from this Bible after he removes from it the New Testament? Okay, so now, here you go. You have a 1-volume book. Okay. Hakham Obadiah Yosef is calling it a Tanakh. I'm referring to it as a Bible because the missionaries put it out and it's called a Bible because it has both Old Testament and New Testament. And obviously, Old is our Torah, Nebi'im, Ketuvim, and New is whatever you want to call it. And yes, Beta, yes, I understand the Gideons. I'll get to the Gideons in a second because we'll touch upon that. So now you take this one volume book of Old and New, you remove the New, the Berit Hadasha, the New Testament, take it, you chuck it, and now you have a one volume Bible. Can you use it as a Jewish person? That's the question posed to Hakham Obadiah Yosef. And he starts with the Rambam. تشوف هرمبام Perek Vav Melchot Yesodei Torah Halacha Het. So, Melchot Yesodei Torah, very, very important aspect to understanding Judaism in general, and especially the teachings of Ben Harambam. These are the foundations of the Torah, and I highly recommend that if you've never studied Melchot Yesodei Torah, go study it, review it. Chag HaShabuot is coming. Great opportunity to read Melchot Yesodei Torah of Harambam. Really, really gives you a solid foundation to know how to appreciate the Torah and what the Torah is. But Harambam writes, Kol Kedbei HaKodesh uPirushehem uBiurehem Asur leSorfam or leAbedam beyad. So any of the holy writings and their commentaries and their explanations, it's forbidden to burn them or to physically get rid of them. במה דברים אמורים? בכתבי הקודש שכתבם ישראל בקדושה. We're talking about holy writings that were written by Israel with holiness. אבל אפיקורוס ישראל שכתב ספר תורה. But now you have Epikuros, somebody who does not, he's a heretic, he does not accept the entire Torah, and he writes a Torah. Sorfim oto im ha'azkarot shebo. You burn the entire Torah, including Shem Hashem that's written in it. You don't cut it like some people, commented years back, obviously in the time of Harambam, both before and after, and they would actually go through the Sefer Torah, cut out all of Hashem's names, and then burn the Torah, because they didn't want to burn Hashem's name. Harambam is telling you, you take the entire Torah with Hashem's name in it, and you burn the entire thing. Because this guy who wrote it, he obviously doesn't believe in the Kedusha and the holiness of the name that he wrote, so it's worthless. And he didn't write it for the sake of Borei Olam. This Epikuros, this heretic, wrote it like it's any other book. Like I have a Danielle Steele novel.
Are you talking about Karaim?
He's not even talking about Karaim. No.
Joey, it sounds like what they did to Em Lamikra in.
Yeah, okay. Let's not go there right now, Andrew. That's a very, very different issue. I don't want to touch that for now.
Okay.
So there are all different types of heretics in the world. And it's not necessarily a Kara'i at all. It could be somebody who just doesn't believe certain things, doesn't believe that the entire Torah is emet, or doesn't believe the Torah was given to us at Sinai. It can be many, many different things. But reading Hilchot Yesodei Torah will help you understand a lot of what Harambam is saying. But let's just take it at face value for the moment. Okay, so now this person wrote the Sefer Torah, and he's Epikuros, according to Harambam. You take the Sefer Torah with all of Shem Hashem that's in it, you take it and you burn it in its entirety, because this person does not believe in Borei Olam, and he didn't write it for the sake of Borei Olam. And this person looks at this book, this Torah, as no different than a regular novel. And since that is his thinking, okay, that's his thought process, that's his kavanot, and that's his mindset, so there's no kedusha in this item. Umizvah the surfo. And now becomes, not only do you have to, but it's a mizvah to burn it. So we do not leave any sort of name for the Epikursim or for their actions. In other words, do not give them any credence whatsoever. Somebody there saying something? All right, we got some Spanioli talking over there.
Yeah, maybe everyone put on themselves on mute besides Joey.
There's somebody there talking. All right. About כתבי הקודש שכתבם עובד כוכבים יגנזו. But now you have כתבי הקודש that a עובד כוכבים. עובד כוכבים he's an idol worshiper. Okay? He has no connection now to Kedusha or not Kedusha. So this you wouldn't be burning. Rather this you would bury. Adka. This is what Harambam is saying. And the Meiri basically writes the same thing. ולכאורה יש ללמוד מכאן לאסור לקרות בספרי תנ"ך שנדפסו על ידי מיסיונרים. And therefore it would seem that we should learn from this that it would be asur, it would be forbidden to read from Bibles that were written by missionaries. וכן העלה הגאון רבי אליהו הלוי בשלוש שבועות זקן אהרון. שאסור לקרות בחומשים ולפלל בסידורים הנדפסים על ידי נוצרים. And this is something that happened many times in history. You would have Christian publishers for Humashim, for Nevi'im, for Ketubim, for Sidurim, for Haggadot, and many Teshuvot have been written on the subject. And one of these Teshuvot from Rabbi Eliyahu Levi in Zekan Aharon says that these things, it's forbidden to use them. You can't even pray from a Sidur printed by a Christian. And he learned this out from the words of Harambam that we mentioned above. בתשובה שהובאה בספר בני חיי ביורה דעה, העתיק תשובת רבי אליהו הלוי נזכיר לעיל וכתב, ואבותינו סיפרו לנו, שמנהגם היה מדורות הראשונים להקל בזה, מעיד שהומסה הדפוס וגלה לאור העולם, ואין פוסה פה לחוש לכל זה. He said, though, we have a teshuvah that a specific Hakham is telling us that ever since the printing press came into being, okay, we're talking now the late 1400s, ever since then, we know the first publishers were non-Jews, and non-Jews would publish things, and everybody became lenient in allowing printed works from the non-Jewish press, okay? And it was okay. And none of the Hachamim came out against it, and they were all okay with it, and that has become the customary practice. And this falls into the category of something that has become the custom among Israel. It is the Torah of Israel, and it's okay. שאילו היו סוברים רבותינו אשר מפיהם אנו חיים שיש סד איסור בדבר והיו עוברים על זה בשתיקה. And if the Hachamim felt that such an action was asur, they wouldn't just remain silent about it, but they would actually open their mouths and they would tell the people, do not use these books. Now, if the people aren't using the books, the printers aren't selling them, and they're going to stop printing. But obviously, the people were buying them, they were using them, more were published, more were bought and sold. So obviously, the Hachamim were okay with it; they had no problem. So therefore, Hakham Obadiah Yosef is telling us that it would. No, not Hakham Obadiah is telling us this. Rather, we say that Bnei Hayeh is telling us that it would seem, therefore, that Harambam is writing strictly about a Sefer Torah, which needs Ketivah Lishma. It has to be written with the proper intent and the Shem Shamayim. About Humashim v'Sidurim shepesua al yedei goyim kishirim lekrot pele bahem. Ad kan tochen devarav. But printed works can be used the way they are, because you do not need Kiddusha and Kavanah to prepare them.
Can I just ask you, sorry to interrupt, I just want to ask you, I'm not clear. Is he saying Sifrei Kodesh merely published by non-Jewish printers were okay?
So here we go again. There were those who said, one of them being Rabbi Eliyahu Levi, in his Zekan Aharon, who said that it is not okay, and the Bnei Hayeh is telling you, no, it was common practice to use this, and there was no problem.
But what I'm trying to understand is, what is under discussion is Sifrei Kodesh merely printed. Merely printed. In other words, there was no active involvement in the text. It was simply reproducing the text, like the Bomberg, the Bomberg Chas.
Absolutely.
The reason why I ask you this is that there was a Ladino, I won't say Ladino, a Judeo-Spanish translation of the Tanakh in the 1880s.
1800s.
In the 1800s, and it wasn't Ladino in the sense that it wasn't a literal word-for-word translation that followed the Hebrew grammar but used Ladino words. It was Judeo-Spanish, so it was a modernized, more intelligible translation done by a missionary for Jews, printed in Vienna, but mainly directed towards Turkish Jews. And what was interesting is that it
was also reprinted in Turkey, not only in Vienna.
Yeah, exactly. And it actually has a Hakdama that is signed by Hatzair Shemuel Chaim, who was it's described as Haskama Me'arav HaMuvchak Me'ir Gaon Me'fursan Zaken Be'ir Constantinople. So, and in the introduction to the Hakdama, he actually describes this missionary in glowing terms. Mima'aseh Yadav Shel Ha'aluf Hasar Halo hu William Schoffler Ishtam V'yashar Be'enei Adat Yichshar Be'avodotot Hadikduk Nikshar V'chol Tomcho Me'ushar.
Right, but this is not, see, now the question is, all right, and we're going off topic over here, but the question is such a translation considered Ketuvei HaKodesh or not?
Okay.
Okay? So it's a very, very different thing. Okay? And it's not only that these questions like that and similar situations happened in Vienna or in Turkey, they happened any place where the missionaries went. And the Scottish missionaries were the most aggressive and they did the most work throughout the world, both in lands of Sephardim and Ashkenazim. And there are works by them in practically every language, wherever they went, to try to, obviously, to draw Jews to the real religion, as they called it. Okay? Okay. So now let's continue. גם הגאון רבי יונה, לן סופר, בספרו בני יונה, כתב ללמד זכות על הנוהגים לקרוא בספרי תנ"ך שנתפסו על ידי מינים, שדווקא ספר תורה שנכתב בכתב יד על ידי מין, מזווה לצורפו, אבל ספר שנתפס בפוס, אינו נחשב ככתיבה, ומעשה קוף בעלמא הוא. ולכן, גם אם נתפס על ידי מין, מותר לקרוא בו עד כאן. So, Rabbi Yonah Len Sofer also had a teshuvah on this, and he said, no, we have to be melamid zechut. We have to find a way to allow it and show that it's okay for the people to use books published by Goyim. And in fact, it is okay because only a Sefer Torah that it has to be actually handwritten and done with Kedusha and Tahara. So that's a separate issue than a book that is published. A book that is published, it's monkey see, monkey do. Any idiot can do it. Just push the button and it's done. There's nothing involved over here, and that's what these minim are, and that's what the goyim are, and it's not falling into the category that we're talking about. Right now, we're talking about somebody, and as Rambam wrote, this is a pikoros who did such an action. And now, obviously, if you had, a non-Jew that was writing a Sefer Torah,
there's no typesetting anything like writing and has the. I understand copying, but is typesetting any different? Like back then, they used to have to typeset or whatever user.
No, that's part of the publishing process. The only way to print and publish, they had to actually typeset by hand. They had to actually set the plates of each letter to get anything done, and that's the way.
So that's my question. So why wouldn't that be an issue if the guy is putting, if he's writing Shem Hashem without being intentional?
Right, but because of it, in that case, he has no intention whatsoever, as opposed to the guy who looks at it as, what is this nonsense? It's very, very different. One guy is like, I have a job to do. I have to make money, and I have to write ABC, ABC, DEF, DEF. That's all he's doing. I need to publish and sell, publish and sell. He has no evil intention over here.
How do we know that? Most of these people maybe believed in the codes, and they actually typeset it with the kavanot, that they have their own kavanot.
Listen, I can't answer for people that were typesetting, 500 years ago or even yesterday. But it doesn't seem like it. And if it was an issue, the Hachamim of the time that were writing Teshuvot, dealing with the reality of their day and time, they would have known of such things and they would have brought it up to light. I have to believe that. Otherwise, there's no way for me to know. You're always going to have, we'll call them a evil person. But for the most part, people that are doing their work are doing their work. They're not looking for good or evil. They're looking to just, let me get the job done, let me make my money, and let's move on. That's with most things in life. So yes, you could have a person that has, an agenda, a terrible agenda.
My point is, let's say if he's working for a missionary press, you assume that he's aligned with their way
with their thinking.
Just like, let's say I would go hire a Jew to print something for me. They would go hire someone that's part of their community that believes in their beliefs.
Not necessarily. The missionaries, to the best of my knowledge, based upon any history I've read about missionaries, they basically would work like this. You had different types of churches, and then you had missionary churches, where the church itself had a goal to missionize. We're going to teach certain people within our circle of how to portray our ideas so they can not stay here, so they can go outside of our area and go to those Jews to teach them. As far as the printing presses are concerned, they didn't have to use their own people. They're not going to utilize, their top people or even their second or third rank people to just print, which was menial labor. They would get the lowest rank of people, and they didn't need to use that from within the missionary circle. This is what I know. Now, obviously, they could have used, and they may have used, but for the most part, that wouldn't have been the way they would do things. Because this wasn't conducive to them. They only had, a certain pool of number of people to use. They can't use everybody, for printing and publishing, which took a lot of time. And generally, for printing and publishing, it was such a specialized industry. You went to professionals that knew how to do it, so you wouldn't run into technical problems, and it would be more cost efficient for you as well. Okay? So if you look back in the annals of history, in each locale and in each time period, you only had generally maximum of 1, 2, or 3 printers in an area. And even then, it would usually only be 1 or 2. You wouldn't have the missionary house doing their own printing by themselves. Never happened. It's not cost efficient. Okay, let's continue. ובשאלות שורות מהרם שיק, העיר על דברי הבני יונה, שאף שהמרשדם נראה שסובר בדבריו, שהדפוס אינו נחשב ככתיבה לעניין ספרי תורה, תפילין ומזוזות וגיטין, אבל הרמ"א מפנו בתשובה סובר, שהדפוס נחשב ככתיבה לכל עניין, וכן כתב פטורי זהב ביורי דעה, וכן העלם מהרם בן חביב בגט פשוט, אלא שיש לומר, טעם אחר להתיר, שנראה שאין המינים בעצמם מדפיסים שאין המינים בעצמם מדפיסים את תנ"ך, אלא הם בעלי העסק ובעלי הדפוס אנשים אחרים הם. You heard Yosef? He dealt with your question right here. He said they weren't the publishers. It's not them. אלא הם בעלי העסק ובעלי הדפוס אינם אנשים אחרים הם. So even if the missionaries owned the publishing house, okay, it was their business, they didn't do the work. They hired out other people to do it. אנשים אחרים. וגם הפועלים תירודים במלאכתם ואינם מכוונים לשם עבודה זרה. The workers are busy with their work. They don't have time to have kavanot. They don't have time to think about anything. They just want to get the job done.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what bothered me.
Okay. That the guy is thinking and working. لا أمرنا. Nah. Never heard of such thing. Never said such a thing. كده يتابعوني. ובאמת שלבו הפוסקים שפוסלים ספר תורה שנעשה בדפוס. And even though, yes, we know there are many that forbade and posel any Sefer Torah that was done by printing, וכבר העריך למעניתו הגאון רבי ישמעאל הכהן בשעות זרע אמת, he quotes זרע אמת, we quoted זרע אמת in the last תשובה, he quotes זרע אמת again. והעלה שעיקר כדברי הבית חדש והכנסת הגדולה בפרי חדש באור החיים, שכתבו לפסול ספר תורה שנעשה בדפוס. So the זרע אמת, רבי ישמעאל הכהן, from Italy by the way, he says the עיקר is like the beit hadash and the כנסת הגדולה and the pri hadash. They all right to be posel a Sefer Torah that was printed. Shechin da'at hamasad binyamin. And it's also the opinion of Masad binyamin. Ve'af harama mifanu shesidel le'achshir lo samach al zeh ma'aseh. Okay, even though Rama mifanu said, yes, you could be, what do you call it? You could be machshir, you could say it's okay and consider it kasher. Okay, he sided that way. For shekin ikal halacha, and the ikar halacha, the main gist of the deen would be to say it's okay. But when it comes to a Sefer Torah, okay, and tefillim mezuzot, then no. וכן עלה בספר עקרי הדת, וכן כתב בספר ניאדי יונה, ובקסת הסופר, וכן הלכה רווחת. ולכן יש מקום לחלק בין כתיבת יד לדפוס גם לעניין זה, כדברי הגאון בעל בני יונה, אזכיר לעיל. Fine. וכן הגאון רבי שמואל חיים, של שבועות שם משחה, העלה להתיר לקרוא בספרי תנ"ך אלה. So those are say that it's okay to read in these books. וחילק בין הכתיבה לדפוס. And they differentiated between ketiba, between writing, and diffus and printing. והסכימו עמו שם גאוני קושטא. And the Hachamim of Kushta from Turkey, they agree with him. רבי אליהו ענב ורבי שבתאי בן שוהם. זכר צדיקים לברכה. וכן העלה בכוחה דהתרה ראש רבני סלוניקי הגאון רבי אשר קובו. ראש שער אשר. So, Rabbi Asher Kobo was a very, very tremendous Hacham. He was the head of the Hachamim of Saloniki, of Salonika, Greece, and he also allowed it. Ve'omnam, Hagaon Rabbi David Amado, Besefer and David HaRambam. David Amado was also one of the great Spanish Hachamim, and he has a Pirush on all of HaRambam, and he disagreed with the Hachamim of Kushta, of Turkey. Halek al Rabbani Kushta. He said, no, we have to be more stringent with this. But even though he said so, we do not have to accept them as bottom line halacha. Which was he was one of the greatest hachamim of the island of Jerba, off of Tunis. In Zechrekuna, Ha'ir begudlo, sheken pasak lehakel bazel halacha al-ma'aseh Gaon Rabbi Yeshua Basis. Rabbi Yeshua Basis was one of the Hachamim of Tunisia. Okay, it says right there, Rosh Bnei Tunisia, like I just said. And he was a giant, by the way. And he tells you, no, you could be lenient. You don't have to be stringent about a printed book. Shekhin Da'at Gaon Rabbi Abraham Haggag, Mehabber Sefer Zerosh al-Abraham, also from Tunisia. Shekhin Pasak Gaon Rabbi Yosef Nisim Burla. Rabbi Yosef Nisim Burla was a bit din in Yerushalayim. Sefer Leket Yosef. And this was the Din of Yerushalayim actually gave a ruling on this subject, and they said, no problem, you could read it. And they followed the ruling of the Hachamim of Kushta, of Turkey. The Gaon Rabbi Shlomo Kluger, again, quoting Rabbi Shlomo Kluger, בספר שמות חיים, בשלוש סתם, נשאל בנידון התנ"ך שנתפס על ידי הכומרים בלונדון. He was asked a question about the Tanakh, the Bible that was published by the priests in London, and they attached to it the New Testament. Because from the main gist of the law, his opinion, his reasoning would be, yes, it's permissible. Because we can't say that the guy publishing, the guy typesetting, the guy printing has any sort of thought process whatsoever. He just wants to get the job done. Now Hakham Obadiah takes it into a different category whatsoever by quoting Rabbi Kluger and saying that the Nochrim, the Christians, in our time, we cannot consider the people of today as idol worshippers. And since they are not idol worshippers, it's a whole different ballgame now. Now it's okay. ומכל מקום, okay, we're still quoting Rabbi Kluger, ומכל מקום, בעל נפש, יזהר מזה כמה שאפשר, עד כאן. בעל נפש, somebody who, how are you going to translate בעל נפש? Somebody with a purer soul, or a more careful leaning in his actions and his thought process, should be careful with such an issue as much as possible. In other words, he's not telling you Baal Nefesh shouldn't do this at all. He's not telling you Mahmir Tavoo ala Beracha. As much as possible, try to avoid it. Okay? If you're of that type of person. ורעוד בשלוש שבועות הלכות קטנות, חלק א', שלוש ברי חיים, מסדר חמד, מרחי ישחק, ובסדר נתיבי עם, done. And Hakham Obadiah ends it. Then he goes to his summary at the end. Now, not all his teshubot have a summary. So far, I've showed you teshubot with summaries, and most of them do have them, but not all. And his sikum, mutar, מעיקר הלכה לקרוא באופן עראי, בספר תנ"ך שהודפס על ידי מיסיונרים. Says it's permissible from the letter of the law to read on a temporary basis a Bible that was published by the missionaries. ובלבד שיסלק ממנו את הברית החדשה הנלווה עמו. But on condition that he removes and gets rid of the New Testament that is attached to it. והמחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה. And he was stringent, תבוא עליו ברכה. So again, he throws it at you, but over here he's throwing it at you based upon such a back and forth with so many poskim and on so many different levels, you could understand why he's telling you המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה, as opposed to the previous teshuvah on the other subject where it was a lot more difficult to accept. So I'd like some feedback from all of you, if you don't mind, on what you think of this teshuvah, what you think of this subject, what you think about Hakham Obadiah Yosef's ruling, and as well as his conclusion. And I'd like to start, please, if you don't mind, with our good friend Mark Seder. So Mark, mic is all yours.
This one well, first of all, Rabbi Kluger, he's a modern Hakham, right?
Yes, he is. He's a contemporary of Hakham Obadiah Yosef.
Right. So it's interesting that he quotes them on the end also regarding before he says Tavol Abracha. Well, what's something I noticed is that did we deal with Arai?
No.
Arai?
No, we
he
did not.
He added that in at the end,
we
right?
did not.
He added that in at the end.
Yes, he
so
did.
It's like a temporary reading. I mean, there was a lot of poskim that he brought in that, clearly made a distinction between a printed book and a one that's handwritten. So, I don't know. He was the Chumrah here is. I don't know. I didn't think it was so substantiated.
Okay.
My opinion.
Yeah, fine.
After,
Sorry?
if it was just a regular Tanakh, Old Testament.
I didn't hear that last part, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, if it was an Old Testament, obviously not the New Testament.
Well, obviously, nobody here, okay, none of the Hachamim are going to want you reading the New Testament.
No, because he makes a point to say you have to detach it.
Right. He makes a point of saying you have to detach it. And I think he comes at that because of Rabbi Kluger's teshubah. That's what I would think. Because he's the only one that really mentioned the priests in London where they have a Bible with the New Testament attached to it. I think that was what caused him to add that piece. But again, that's just a thought of mine.
Right.
Okay? That's all. All right, Solomon Batesh, what do you got? You still there, Solomon? Okay, Barry, how about you?
I'm here, guy.
Okay, so Solomon, talk to us.
No, I'm sitting back listening.
No, I want your opinion of this topic.
Very good.
Very good.
It's perfect. My question is, when it came to the Sefer Torah and the Kara'im, how come nobody discusses that?
Who said nobody discusses that?
Not over here. Why are they speaking about the New Testament or the Obed Avodah Zarah or the guy
Because the topic over here is about printed works more than anything else.
Okay. So can I use a Humash, a Kara'i Humash to study from?
So I would tell you, first of all, you're not dealing with the Kara'i Humash you're going to be using, if you're using one at all, is going to be printed as well. And it was most probably printed not by a Kara'i, because the Kara'im never had their own printing press.
Okay.
Okay, so that already leaves our entire topic. What thought process are you seeing in this Kara'i Humash? That their Humash is identical to our Humash. There's nothing there that's different.
Nothing.
They believe in all of Torah Shebichtab, so I don't think it's something to bring up in this, at least for our Teshuvah, it's nothing to bring up at all.
Wait. So are they considered Jewish?
Different topic, Solomon.
Yeah. Okay.
Different topic.
That's why I've been quiet and sitting back.
Okay, no problem. Let's go to Barry. Barry, topic. Let's go. What do you think of this topic over here?
Interesting. I don't really have much to add. I mean, it doesn't seem so controversial. It doesn't seem like strict, lenient, and really too much to me.
Okay, so now Abe Beta, though. Abe, you still with us? Abe Beta.
I'm here.
Okay, so now
Gideon's Bible.
Abe Beta typed in a little note when we started this Teshuvah about the Gideons. All of us have been to some sort of hotel or motel, someplace in the United States or in the world, where we opened up that drawer on the night table and there's a Holy Bible there. And this book has been placed here, by the Gideons. And they have these, Old and New Testaments all over the place. And over the course of time, maybe some of us have taken them, maybe some of us have read them, maybe some of us have thrown them out, all different types of things. What do you think? Now, you're looking at the Hakham Obadiah's Teshuvah, you're in a hotel, and now you needed something to read. You could read some Tanakh in English. You can't destroy the property, but it's on a temporary basis. Would you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, or would you feel that you need to be mahmir?
If you're asking me, I'd keep it in perspective. You know what the source is. You would know that it's not necessarily translated with the accuracy or the way that we would, but you look through it if you're looking for a reference point.
Okay.
Can I read the New Testament? That's my question.
So the question is, again, this is not part of what we're studying tonight, but if there is a reason to study the New Testament, and that's usually something that Hachamim would do, they would study the New Testament because there is a issue within Judaism of da' ma lahashiv la'apikoros. You have to know how to respond to the attacks of the missionaries, to respond to the attacks of the cults and of the non-Jews, and you must know their reference point, and you must know their, we'll call it, holy works. So the Hachamim were definitely known to have read the New Testament as well as the Quran, to be familiar with any sort of point of reference or action, and how they could defend, if you will, the Torah and Jewish beliefs. So those type of people definitely read these type of works. They knew them well. They would even quote them in certain works that were needed for, for that topic of responding when they would want to teach, their communities. But for the general, your average Joe to go and read the New Testament, if you're not, really grounded very, very firmly in everything Jewish, I don't think anybody would ever recommend that you do that. Okay, I don't have any sort of source for this. I'm saying this off the top of my head, this last part. But if anybody has something to throw in, maybe Andrew or maybe Jack D. Jamal, who just joined us, you're more than welcome to to respond.
Two things, Joey. I'm trying to work out why he has tacked on Rabbi Shlomo Kluger at the very end of his Teshuvah.
Where would you want him to take him on?
No, I simply say that I'm trying to work it out in its historical context, because Rabbi Kluger died, I think, I'm sure he died in the 1860s, 1870s. He's a Polish or Hungarian rabbi. I just don't understand. He seems to have dealt with the texts historically, chronologically. I'm just not sure why he's tacked him on at the end almost as an afterthought. The second thing, and this is, you might say I'm going off topic, and you and I have had this discussion quite often. We have different experiences of French translations that were used in Egypt, of the Siddur and the like. I know that, for example, I have my grandfather's Tanakh, for want of a better word, that he brought from Egypt with him. And it had it was only in French translation, because in those days, the Tanakh had not been translated. You couldn't get a Hebrew-French translation of the Tanakh with both texts. So he had a French text as well as his Hebrew one. And the French text is a French Christian text. The order of the Sepharim is different, and it's got the New Testament tacked onto the back of it. So clearly, there doesn't seem to, and I know of I've seen them in other Egyptian Jewish homes, there doesn't seem to have been an issue with using a French language, only French language, Tanakh with the New Testament tacked on. Seems to have been done fairly commonly. And I must say, I find it quite surprising. It's one of those books that I sort of keep but don't really want to have. I'm
really not catching your point at all. I'm sorry.
So there doesn't seem to have been, at least this isn't an exception. I've seen it, amongst other collections of Jewish books of Egyptians here, at least in Melbourne, where people had a French translation of the so-called Old and New Testament, which they used. And they didn't remove the New Testament part from it. It was there. They just didn't use it.
Okay.
So
you bought a book, you kept it intact. There was no other way of getting a translation.
There wasn't. I'm just surprised. One would have thought, for example, they might have had it rebound without the New Testament, but it doesn't seem to have troubled them.
It all depends on the person. Most people know what they want to read and they ignore what they don't want to read.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything. Any other comments from anybody on this Teshuvah? Yosef, anything for us? Either Yosef, Joe Nakash or Joe Mansour, anybody? All right, I guess we're going to move to the next Teshuvah then. So, I do think, though, that this Teshuvah, with his Mahmir Teboo Ala Berachah, has a little bit more weight to it than the previous Teshuvah regarding the Pyrex, if you agree. Yes, I hope somebody.
I agree. I agree with you.
I mean, I thought there was he made the great distinction between the printing again and the Kitvei Yad, but considering it has to deal with, Avodah Zarah, Minin, things like that, I definitely think the weight is very strong there.
The weight is very strong, what?
To be Mahmir. I mean, I'll ask a question.
Right. There's a much better, you have much more meat and more to stand on and more to rely upon to tell somebody to be Mahmir over here.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you, this is not even a Humrah. This should be a Halakha, if you ask my Sevara.
Okay, of course. So you think that there's no room to be lenient even?
That's what I'm saying. And when it comes to something like that, I mean, that's my basic instinct, not really based on any halachic learning or anything like that.
Okay. So,
I mean,
since you mentioned that, one second, I want to comment on what Yosef said. Unless you wanted to say something else, Yosef.
No, I'm listening.
Okay, so if you noticed or didn't notice, some of you may have earlier on, when we started this teshuvah, Andrew jumped in and started to say that it reminds him of, Andrew?
Yeah.
It reminded you of what? Of the burning of?
The Perush on the Chumash by Rabbi Eliyahu ben Amozeg in the
1860s. So, since Yosef was born in Halab, and his response over here is no, he would look at it completely differently, and it's a no-brainer. Everybody has to be mahmir. There's no room to be lenient whatsoever. So I want to point this out to people, that I think this is something that is very, very distinctly Halabi to be mahmir. No, I don't mean it in a negative way, Joe. I think it's a mindset. I think it's a mindset of the people of Halab and the more insular world, where anything that's coming from the outside is always looked at with suspicion. And whether it was while you were living in Halab, vis-a-vis another Jew, which Rabbi Eliyahu ben Amozeg was a tremendous Jew, but the Hachamim of Halab, even though they bought books from him and from his printing press in Livorno all the time, they didn't agree with things he wrote in his Perush on the Chumash, and therefore they went, and they burned his books in the street. His books, his Perush, not other books that he printed, not his Humashim that he printed and the Sidurim that he printed or other books that he printed by other Hachamim, but his specific Perush on the Humash they didn't like, and that they burnt.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that history, with that whole...
I know you're not familiar with that, but that's why I pointed out, because you're not familiar with it, but instinctively you're saying, no, this is a no-no. This you can't even have such a book at all. So to me, it's very interesting how the mindset of that, let's be careful over here, let's watch out, how it trickled down over time, I know you have it, Andrew.
Yes,
very nice.
I want them to, Joey, I know I want them to see how it was described. Can people read that, or is it back to front on your screens?
Why don't you share your screen?
It'll be easier to read it.
Hang on. No, I can't because I'm holding it. I don't think I can do a share screen.
No,
I'm holding it. But it's described as but it's described as having biurim chadashim al pi chokhmat haleshonot, philologia, ve'abikur, critic, ve'kadmoniyot, archaeologia, ve'korot Bavel ve'ashur ve'mitzrayim ve'chayotze.
Okay, but Mordechai Abadi didn't like it.
ואמונות ומנהגי גויים הקדם ומשפט חרוץ על קצת דעות, etc. So anyhow, you can tell why they didn't like it.
Okay.
So
so I just want to continue quickly. They didn't like it. They burnt the book. They wanted to get all the Hachamim of the Middle East, of the Ottoman Empire, to all turn against it. They turned to Rabbi Hayyim Palachi in Turkey. They turned to the Beit Din in in Yerushalayim. They turned to all the different Hachamim, to get on the same bandwagon with them, and to all forbid it, and to all burn it, and to all send it back to him to Italy. And nobody agreed with the Hachamim of Halab. Just so you know, the Hachamim of Halab were by themselves. Nobody would agree with them. They did their own thing, and that was the end of the story. But even after they finished burning his books, they would continue to buy books from him and from his printing press. And they even, Hakham of Halab went to him to publish their own books. But they just didn't like his Perush. Okay? So just very interesting. They tried to get the other Hakamim from other cities to agree with them, and nobody felt the same way. So this is a very, very Halabi thing to be, suspicious, and not like things. So I figured you'd enjoy that as a compliment to you, Joe.
The Lechad Dodi story, if you know what I mean.
I'm sorry? Which story?
It's the Lechad Dodi.
I don't know if it's the same.
Whatever. They want to stay far from whatever that brings them maybe a little change.
Maybe. But, something I figured you'd enjoy hearing.
Okay.
Next to just one more thing. Just
ancestors.
Yeah, somebody who Mark, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, one more. Just in terms of, I mean, let's just expand the issue while we're here. You know, a lot of people like to read biblical commentary on, you know, Tanakh here and there. There are some hidushim that are very interesting that help, you know, bolster our belief in Borei Olam and the Torah. While at the same time, on the next chapter and the next pages, there would be something that could be contrary to our belief. You know, based on the Teshuvah, like, what do we think? You know, what Hakham Obadiah says, it's definitely asur to read that. It's not a printing of just a printing of the Tanakh, obviously, but it's something that's, you know, it's biblical criticism, let's say, or something to be a biblical scholar.
I don't know. I can't answer for him.
We couldn't extrapolate here, huh?
I don't think so. I don't think we have enough to work with.
Okay.
Okay. Next Teshuvah should be your next page. It should start middle of the page. It says Siman Yud Aleph. Hope you all have it. It's from Yehaveh Da'at, volume 5. So Yehaveh Da'at Chelik Hamishi, Siman Yud Aleph, page 45. And this has to do with a topic that is very, very important to Solomon Batesh. And I didn't even know he was going to be with us tonight. האם חובה מעיקר הדין על כל הקהל לעמוד על רגליהם בחזרת השליח ציבור או רשאים לשבת אחר אמירת הקדושה? So, is there an obligation from the letter of the law for the entire kahal to stand for all of Hazara, or are they allowed to sit down after Kedusha? And as we know, there are those who sit, there are those who stand, there are those who are confused. And we're going to see what Hakham Obadiah Yosef has to say, and we're going to see at what point he tells us المحمير تبوا علیו برכה, and if it works for us or not. So once again, he opens up with הרמב"ם. הרמב"ם הלכות תפילה כתב בזוהר לשון. לאחר שהשליח ציבור מסיים תפילתו בלחש ויפסע 3 פסיעות לאחוריו, ואחר כך יחזור למקומו ויתפלל בקול רם מתחילת ברכות תפילה, להוסיף מי שאינו בקיא להתפלל, והכל עומדים ושומעים חזרת השליח ציבור ועונים אמן אחר כל ברכה וברכה, בין אלו שכבר יעשו ידי חובתם ובין אלה שלא יעשו ידי חובתם עד כאן. So Harabam tells you that we pray the Amidah. After the Hazan finishes the Amidah, he steps back 3 steps, then he goes back to the spot where he started to pray in, and he starts the Hazara out loud. And this is to fulfill the obligation for anybody who is not, not able to pray or does not know how to pray. And everybody stands and listens to the Hazara, and they answer Amen after each and every Beracha, whether it's a person who already fulfilled the obligation because they know how to pray, or whether somebody else. And this is what Harambam says. ومما שכתב שהכל עומדים ושומעים, נראה שכל הקהל צריך לעמוד בחדר הציבור. And from what he writes, it seems to us that everybody needs to stand for the Hazara. וכן כתב הרמה בהגהה. And Muram writes the same thing on his commentary to Shulchan Aruch, בשם הגהות מנהגים. שכל העם יעמודו כשחוזר הציבור התפילה. The entire nation has to stand while the Hazara is going on. אולם הגאון רבי יעקב חג'יז, בשביל תשובות הלכות קטנות חלק ב' כתב, שלכאורה יש להוכיח מהגמרא יומא במעשה של מור שמואל, שהיה יושב בעת חזרת התפילה ביום כיפורים, שיגיע הציבור לאמרת וידוי, כמה רגלוי, לומר הוידוי עמו. משמע שאין חיוב לעמו בעת חזרת הציבור. So Rabbi Yaakov Hajiz, in Hilchot Ketanot of his responsa, he writes, we can also prove from the Gemara Yoma that we have an incident with Mor Shemuel that was sitting down during the Hazara of Kippur, and when the Hazan got up to Vidui, Mor Shemuel stood up to say Vidui with the rest of the people. Therefore, we understand that there is no Hayyub, there's no obligation to stand up for the entire Hazara. V'siyem. ומכל מקום ראיתי בבית הכנס של האשכנזים בווירונה שכל הקהל יושבים בחזרה של הציבור. And he tells us in his Teshuvah that in any case, I have seen in the synagogue of the Ashkenazim in Verona, in Italy, that the entire kahal sits down for Hazara. אבל בבית הכנסת של הספרדים, שם היו כולם עונים מחזרה. But in the Sephardic synagogue there in the same city of Verona, all the people would stand up for Hazara. וכן מסתבר, and this seems to make sense. This is logical, this is reasonable. עד כאן. וכן כתב מרן החידה בספר עבודת הקודש, בקשר גודל. וכן פסק הגאון רבי חיים פלאצ'י בספר גב החיים. אולם בספר תורת חיים סופר, כתב שבמדינתו רוב העולם יושבים בעת החזרה. So we have the Hida saying the same thing to stand for the entire Hazara, and Rabbi Hayim Palachi saying the same thing, but in Torat Hayim Sofer says that in his country, the people, majority of people sit down for Hazara. And that was in Poland. וכן כתב הגאון רבי אברהם הכהן מסלוניקי בספר תורת המים שמותר מהדין להישב בחזרה של ציבור כיוון שכל הקהל התפללו בלחש ויעשו ידי חובת תפילה. So he writes it's permissible for the kahal to sit down during Hazara because they already prayed and therefore they fulfilled their obligation of prayer. והגאון ממינסק בעל האור גדול בחיבורו על המשניות כתב להוכיח גם כן מהגמרא. And he also quotes the Gemara שאין צורך לעמוד בחזרה של ציבור. There is no reason to stand up for the Hazara. והוסיף שכן מוכח בירושלמי. And he also quotes ירושלמי to prove it. שרב הונא ורבי זרע היו יושבים בחזרת התפילה במוסף של השנה. That we have over the incident of רב הונא ורבי זרע sitting down for מוסף של השנה. ושכן מבואר בדברי רבנו זרחי הלוי בעל המאור. שמותר לשב בחזרת התפילה במוסף של השנה. It's permissible to sit down on חזרה במוסף של השנה. מסיים, and he concludes, מה שכתב בהגהות מנהגים שיש לעמוד בחזרת השליח ציבור, הוא חומרה בעלמא. And he comments over there that what's written in הגהות מנהגים, which is what Muram quoted for us in his commentary on Shulchan Aruch, that the standing during the entire Hazara is humra be'alma. It's a stringency, and that's all. וכן כתב הגאון רבי מרדכי וינקלר בשאלות תשובות לבושי מרדכי מהדורת הנינה שאף שהאשכנזים נוהגים לעמוד בחזרת השליח ציבור כמו שכתב בגהות מנהגים מקום בגידולתנו נהגו לשבת וכן נהגו גם גידולים וצדיקים. So even among Ashkenazim it seems to be a difference of opinion and not all Ashkenazim would stand for the entire Hazara and there were those who stood and those who sat. וכן כתב הרב הגאון רבי עובדיה הדיה Hakham Obadiah Yosef in his Yaskil Abdi, שנשאל אודות גבאי בית הכנסת בתוניסיה. He was asked by the גבאים of the synagogue in Tunisia. שמה אסור לנכון לתקן למען הסדר הטוב שהכל הקהל יש בו בחזרת ציבור אחר עמיד הקדושה. That they felt that it would make the prayer service more orderly if they instructed the entire kahal to sit down for Hazara immediately after Kedusha. כדי שיקשיבו ויקוונו לחזרה של ציבור, so they could sit down, they could listen and pay attention to the Hazara, בתשומת לרבה, with more concentration and more focus, והשיב שלשאים לנהוג. And Hakham Obadiah Yosef, who was the head of the Beit Din in Yerushalayim, he wrote back to them and said, yes, you are allowed to do that. They could sit. כי דברי הגהות מנהגים בהרמה בזה אינם אלא מנהג בעלמא. Because the words of הגהות מנהגים and Muram is only a stringency. And it's only a custom. ולכן רשאים הגבאים לתקן כפי ראות עיניהם לכבוד מקום השתת שכינת עוזנו. And therefore the גבאים can institute such a takana to make Bet Hashem a more orderly conducted place. שהקהל יש בו מקומותם ויאזינו לחזרה של ציבור. The people could sit and pay attention to חזרה. ולא ינהגו כאוות נפשם. And not each person does whatever they want to do. One stands, one sits, one walks around, and God knows what else. זה מהלך וזה עומד. One walks and one talks, and one stands. ויושב וזה מדבר לחברו. אלא ישמרו על קדושת המקום, therefore they could watch over the sanctity of the place, ויתו אוזן קשבת, ויקוונו דפת של הציבור. And everybody could pay attention properly. ושוב העיר לו הרב הגאון השואל, בדברי הרמב"ם, נזכיר לאיש כתב, והכל עומדים ושומעים, but he was questioned, Hakham Obadiah giving this ruling was questioned by those asking, but what about how do we reconcile the words of Harambam? והכל עומדים ושומעים, וחזר והשיב שאילו היו דברי הרמב"ם כפשוטם, היה לא להרמה לביאם. Because if we were to understand the Rambam literally, that it meant for the entire Hazara, then the Rama wouldn't have to bring Hagahot Menhagim. He could just say, and Harambam said so. So obviously Harambam didn't say so, and Harambam didn't mean so. ולما هو شيخ لأبيه زوج من دبره هجهود من هجين. البداي لذاف داف كعميدة إلا هو عديرخ شأمره كيفن شنفتح سيف التوراة أسود السبير أفلوه ببره اللخا شنيمار هو عمدو كل عام بين عميدة إلا شتيقا شنيمار بحلتي كيلو يدبرو كي عمدو ذو عن وعود. Because standing up doesn't only mean standing up. Standing up also means shitika, being silent. Okay, and therefore means to be silent in this case. וכן כתב הרב הגאון רבי יצחק אייזק ליבס בשבועות בית אבי. והוכיח כן מהגמרא מירושלמי ושגם הרמב"ם לא התכוון לעמידה ממש אלא לשתיקה. And he tells you over here that Harambam's intention was not necessarily standing, but rather silence. ולכן לא הביא הרמה דין זה מדבר הרמב"ם. Therefore, Rama could not bring the deen or his ruling or his opinion from the words of Harambam because it wasn't the right intention of Harambam. إلا מהגהות מנהגים. ולכן הרבה מבני תורה אינם נזהרים לעמוד בשעת חזרה של הציבור. And therefore, many bnei Torah, we'll call them yeshiva students in my opinion, are not careful and scrupulous about standing for entire hazara. ויש להם סמוכים על פי הנסכים לעיל עד כאן תוכן דבריו ורעוד בשל שבועות ויסבור יוסף שוורץ. And there are many points here for them to rely upon for what they do, to not stand for the entire hazara. Fine. Now he continues on the top of the next page. ומכל מקום, in any case, אין לקהל לשבת אלא עד לאחר שיסיים מה שיחשבו ברכת האל הקדוש. But in any case, the people in the kahal should not sit down whatsoever until the Hazan finishes the ברכה of האל הקדוש. וכמו שכתב כיוסף בזה הרמה בדרכי משה. And like the Rama wrote in his book called דרכי משה. שמהרי לא היה מדבר אפילו לצורך מתחילת קדושה עד סיום האל הקדוש. And Mahari wouldn't even speak even for a great for any necessity rather, from the beginning of the kedusha until the end of ha'el kadosh. In other words, the kedusha and ha'el kadosh are one unit, and therefore you have to wait for ha'el kadosh to be concluded. וכן פסק אלי רבה, וכן כתב הגאון מאורי רבי חיים פלאצ'י בספר כף וחיים, וכן העילה ושלוות שבט הלוי, חלק ג' וחלק ד'. וכן יש להיזהר שכאשר יגיע השליח ציבור לימודים, כל הקהל יעמודו על רגליהם כדי לכרוע להשתחוות מודים לרבנן שאין השתחוויה אלא כשהיא מעומד. But he says, one second everybody, but he says over here that it's very important to be careful. When the Hazan gets to Modim, the entire kahal stands up in order to bow for Modim de Rabbanan, because you could not bow unless you are standing. So therefore you must stand to bow. All right, somebody wanted to say something before I continue? No. Okay, I thought somebody was saying something. וכמדוכח באורחת חיים שכתב רבנו יצחק אבן גיאת שקיבל מרבותיו שאף היושב בספינה או בעגלה ואינו יכול לעמוד בתפילת 18 אם יכול לעמוד לפחות במקום הקריעות עומד כדי שיכרע וישתחווה מעומד ואף על פי שיושב בכל התפילה שפיר דמה. And we have another source for this from Rabbeinu Yitzhak ibn Giyat, who was telling you that he received his tradition from his Hachamim, that even though a person that's in a boat, all right, or in a carriage, in a wagon, and he can't stand for the Amidah, of course he's allowed to pray the Amidah sitting down. But if possible, he should at least try to stand at those points where you have to make the kiriyot, where you have to bow. Therefore, your bowing is proper because you have to go from a standing position into the bowing position. So he's telling you for the same thing would hold true here for Hazara for Modim. והוא בא בבית יוסף, וכן פסק מרן בשולחן ערוך, שם סעיף ה', וכן כתב כיוסף בזה, תלמיד הגאון מהרי, בעל תרומת הדשן בספר לקט יושר, וזה שלו, לכונני, שכשלא היה יכול לעמוד אחר הקדושה היה יושב עד שמגיע של ציבור לשומע התפילה, ואז היה עומד עד אחר שסיים הדין ברבנן. When a person can't stand for the entire Hazara, he would stand at the point when he finished the ברכה of שומע התפילה. From Reseh he would stand, and therefore he would bow at Modim and be standing for the Modim. אבל כשהיה יכול לעמוד היה עומד בתחילת 18 עד הקדיש. But when possible, he would stand for the entire Hazara until the Kaddish. וכן מוכח ממה שכתב הרב מגן אברהם, שאף על פי שאין להשתחוות אלא במקום שתיקנו החכמים, מכל מקום מהריל היה משתחווה מיושב, ופניו כלפי מזרח בעת שאומר אתה אדוני אלוהינו, מודים אנחנו לך, באמצע ויברך דוד, שאין הקפידה אלא כמשתחווה מעומד, עין שם. ולכן מי שיושב בחדר של ציבור צריך לעמוד כשתחווה במודים רבנן. So therefore, so he was just throwing in as another point. Okay, even if you are sitting down for the entire Hazara, to make it your business to stand so you could bow properly for Modim Rabbanan. And this is Hakham Obadiah Yosef's Teshuvah. Basically, what we understand from it is that it is mutar to sit down after Ha'el HaKadosh and make it your business to stand for Modim Rabbanan. Now, when you come to his conclusion, to his Sikum, he tells you what? מותר מן הדין לשבת בחזרת אשר יחסיבון מיד לאחר שמסיים מג'לס ציבור ברכת האל הקדוש. Exactly as we just said. That it is permissible, as far as the law is concerned, to sit down for Hazara immediately after Hazan finishes the ברכה of האל הקדוש. ובלבד שלא ישב בתוך 4 אמות של הציבור שבלב. But you cannot sit within 6 feet of the Hazan who is praying. As we know, it's a clear halacha in Shulchan Aruch in Siman Hov Bet. Verak im hu zaken or halash, okay, but unless obviously is an elderly person or a weak person, mutar. It'd be permissible as mentioned and delineated for us in Shulchan Aruch. Ukshiyagia, top of the last page of page Mimhet, Ukshiyagia hashilach sibur lemodim. צריך לעמוד להשתחוות כשאומר מדברים עליו. And when the Hazan gets up to Modim, you have to stand and bow for Modim Rabbanan. ויישאר עומד עד שיסיים Modim Rabbanan. You have to remain standing until you finish all of Modim Rabbanan. And now here we go. והמחמיר לעמוד בכל חזרת השליח ציבור תבוא עליו ברכה. And he who is stringent to stand for the entire Hazara, that person, Tavoo Alav Beracha. So, what are the conditions in this Teshuvah that would point us to Hakham Obadiah Yosef, concluding with being Mahmir and Tavoo Alav Beracha? He already knocked out from the beginning that the opinion of Harambam is to stand for the entire thing. And he brought us a slew of Hachamim that say you don't have to. He brought us a slew of Hachamim that showed us that it is only a minhag. He brought us a slew of different Hachamim that showed us that it was not even the minhag in their locale to stand up for the entire Hazara. He showed us that Amidah means Shitika. So, all that being said, why Hammahmir Tavoo Ala Beracha? What is Hakham Obadiah Yosef's style to determine for us when to say Hammahmir Tavoo Ala Beracha? I cannot figure it out. I am racking my brain around this and I cannot. I just don't know how to make it out. And right now I want to hear from Jack D. Jamal because I'm hoping he has some sort of insight for me. Yaakov, please.
I'm thinking about this. I got to think about it a little bit and I want to read this teshuvah a little more slowly and carefully.
No problem.
And
because we did 2 other teshuvot before this, and we had an equally difficult time figuring out Hakham Obadiah Yosef's, MO, how he comes up with Mahmir Tavoo Ala Beracha. The last teshuvah we read,
I saw that one. Missionary Tanakh.
The missionary Tanakh one, it was a lot easier to swallow Mahmir Tavoo Ala Beracha. The teshuvah before that, I could not find any sort of rhyme or reason for it whatsoever. And this one I'm also having, and I happen to generally stand for the entire Hazara, but I can't understand why he's telling you.
Why do you stand? Why do you stand? You like standing. You
I like to stand, yes.
All day.
I stand all day long. I don't know how to sit. I sit down, I fall asleep. I slouch and fall asleep. Yes, it's true. But my personal understanding of Harambam without those telling me it means shetika is you have to stand for the whole thing. Simple understanding of Harambam. Babyish understanding, if you want to call it, is stand.
Right.
In fact, but at the same time, I make fun of myself because really, if you look at Harambam carefully, you're supposed to be standing or hazara exactly the way you stand for lahash. In other words, not moving and with your feet together exactly the way you are.
Which nobody, you don't do. Most people don't do.
Which I don't do. So sometimes I laugh at myself and I say, what am I doing this for?
Uh-huh.
So okay. I'm a bit hypocritical. I'm admitting it.
Right.
But my simple understanding of Harambam, you say the Amidah in a certain spot, and then you walk back to that spot for Hazara. You have to remain in that exact spot, unwavering, unmoving, with your feet together for the entire Hazara. I would imagine so from beginning to end, based upon the way I see Harambam.
Right.
I just don't get where he's coming up with المحمير تبوا على بركة. I just can't understand it. Each teshubah is completely different. Each teshubah doesn't seem to have a underlying point that, calls out to us, oh, this is why I say so.
Right.
That's really it.
Okay.
Good question, right?
Yes.
No answer.
I'm reading. I need to, concentrate a little better and see.
All right.
Now
we have Joe Mansour, who hasn't opened his mouth all night. Joe, I really hope you're there and you have something to tell us. Even just say hello. Come on, somebody.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. Do you have any idea, any inkling for us?
I'm thinking, not yet, soon.
Okay.
I'm trying.
I'll take soon. I promise you I was going to read, what do you call it, Hakham Obadiah on Yom Tov, the second halacha. I took it out to read it, but I got so engrossed looking through 7 volumes of Yehavedat, all of Shabbat, I didn't get to your point, but I still have to get to it. So I didn't forget you. Just letting you know.
No problem.
To go through 7 volumes of Yehavedat in one Shabbat, took some time.
Joey, perhaps.
Yes, Barry, talk to us.
Perhaps Hakham Obadiah Yosef is for once tipping his hat to his Baghdadian roots.
But before you continue, he didn't bring one Baghdadian source whatsoever, not pro, con, or otherwise.
Oh,
so
that's true.
I find so. If that being the case, I don't buy it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a bit tongue in cheek, of course.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And that's what I expect from you.
Thank you, Joey.
No, but really, he didn't bring one Baghdadian Hakham over here. I don't even think he brought did he bring Kafahim Sofer? He didn't even bring him.
No,
so nothing.
Yeah.
Who's Torat Haim Sofer? Who's Torat Haim Sofer?
It's one of what do you call it? One of the Hakham Sofer, Moshe Sofer's books, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll double check. You're the book man.
I could look it up. I don't know offhand.
It's the Hatam. It's an Hayim Sofer. Yeah, Rabbi Hayim Sofer, also known as Joachim Schreiber.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so Schreiber Sofer is from the Hatam Sofer dynasty.
Yeah, same dynasty, same family. Yes, that's who it is.
Right. Because sometimes the Kafahim has Sephardim that nobody knows about. They only know him for the Kafahim, so I just wanted to.
No, this is
right.
No, this is not it.
Yeah, okay.
How about you? Anybody else? A.B. Master, anything to throw into us? Jonah Cash, anything? Mark?
So I was just thinking, if anything, what they have in common was that there is, at least with the Teshuvah about the Tanakh and this Teshuvah, that there was an older halacha, a more traditional halacha that said, you stand during Hazara, we burn the books of the mean from Harambam. And even you could think about the glass example with the Pyrex, things, glass, there was never such a thing of cooking with glass. What I'm trying to say basically, as halakha progressed and evolved, and we've adapted to modernity and technology that occurred, or just different social practices or different things that occurred throughout society, we sort of like left the older halakha, the more traditional, that we don't stand during Hazara, for example. And, you know, maybe Hakham Obadiah doesn't want to lose that. Say, hey, so if you want to really go back to that, Tevah alav Berachah.
But he doesn't seem to indicate that there was an old halakha, because even through the quotation from Babli Yoma, we don't see that. And from the Yerushalmi, we don't see that either.
That's not halakha. Rambam brought it to halakha. That's what the Rishonim brought to halakha. That's what he wants to go by. And that's what Sephardim did. And there's a lot of sources to say that's what we did. So I'm just trying to say is that there is a traditional source. We may not follow it, but let's not lose it. And if somebody wants to keep it, let's go with it. And in terms of the Pyrex, I would say it's a modern invention. You'll never have that. And when they were dealing with glass and not absorbing, you know, it wasn't for cooking on ish. So, because it wouldn't stand up to cooking all ish. So I'm just thinking, basically keeping the tradition, going with the older halakha. It is, you know, there's he's saying possibly let's keep to it's Tevah alav Berachah if somebody wants to go back to that. That's all I saw from these three teshuvot. I'm not saying it's universal, but.
Okay, so I honestly, in this teshuvah, I don't see it at all. I don't see him showing us, you know, all these Rishonim or any Rishonim that are telling us this was the common practice among the Sephardim at all. I don't see it in anything that he wrote to us over here. As far as what you're saying about going back to the glass and the fire, okay, the woman's question, her question was not about fire or not fire. She just talked about Pyrex and Duralex, which are treated glass products, but her question was not about cooking with them. Okay, in other words, she could have been just talking about having a dinner plate, that she would use that same dinner plate for both meat and for dairy. He threw in the cooking concept, and his mahmir tavua alav beracha on that question, he didn't say specifically that refers to putting it on the fire or not either. As far as the missionaries, I wouldn't even know how that, I couldn't really get how that fits in with the other two cases you were bringing. So I disagree with you across the board over here. I'm sorry. That's just my take.
It's okay. I was just giving a possible thread of.
Yeah.
It's not easy because it's not. Doesn't.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. That's why we're here to study together and help each other out. You know, grapple and understand things.
But like, you know, in regard to the Hazara situation, though, like, you know, like you say, Harambam, it seems to be pretty clear from there. And someone wants to keep that. That's a wonderful thing. Why not? The only thing is,
why not? Exactly.
You're doing something different than the Sibur. Maybe that's disturbing. It's not as orderly. At the same time, it is the halakha that's codified, and it's a wonderful thing. So why not Tevah? Why not say it's a good thing to do?
Oh, by the way, he brings the Kaf HaChaim in the note on the bottom, star 2. What is that?
I didn't go to the bottom. I will not go to the bottom. If he didn't bring it into the goof of the teshuvah, I will not go there. It's not fair to go there because he himself didn't want it to be there.
Oh, it's a different point regarding Dalit Amos as a person. Yeah, okay. I just saw Kaf HaChaim, so I got excited, but I'm reading it now. Right.
I don't know. I don't know the answer. I have one more teshuvah, but honestly, I'm tired, so I don't think I'm going to do one more teshuvah for tonight unless you guys are really into it, and then we can continue. It's also a very different topic, which I don't know how many of you remember these type of Sefrei Torah, where they're whitewashed before the Sofer actually writes on them. And in the community, we used to have many, many of them. Nowadays, we don't find them anymore. They've been basically banned for the most part. Oh, like it's not kasher anymore. While as growing up, So many Sifrei Torah were like that, and they were actually preferred. Do any of you remember them?
The Ashkenazim still have them as old European ones that have the whitewash.
Do they?
Yeah, but again, it's probably like you said. It was a custom of some years back. It was when ink wasn't the same and the parchment wasn't the same, etc.
No, ink was
And they
definitely
were a
the
lot
same,
heavier.
and parchment was the same, but it was much more beautiful when you look at a beautiful, white scroll that's written on. It's like a freshly painted room.
Just quickly, I was raising my hand on the last thing about standing up. Maybe back in the old days, they didn't have a big heavy chumash like we use today. It's a little bit more practical to sit down and flip through a heavy chumash while you're seated.
We're talking about Hazara. We're talking about the Amidah.
Oh, I see.
And most of the time, they didn't have Sidurim at all. And if they did, they were more lightweight because the publishers wouldn't publish everything in duplicate, triplicate, and quadruple. They would, in other words, be one Amidah in the entire book. And for Shahrim and Hanabi, you turn to the same Amidah. So the books were much more light in weight.
Right.
So no, that doesn't fit in over here. I honestly, I would rather leave this other teshuvah about Sefer Torah till next time. Only because I'm tired. But if you have specific comments, any of the three that we did, or any insight onto how Hakham Obadiah Yosef decides when to say המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה, whether you have this answer tonight or whether you've come up with an answer over the course of the week, I'm open. Let me know.
Look, Joey, it was a whole teshuvah. It wasn't so simple. Like we said, the simplicity of the language of the Rambam sounds like it's better to stand.
Yes. And
so what's so difficult to say? Listen, it's a like Marky said, it's a good thing. It's a nice thing. It's questionable. You have a heter to sit down, but it's a good thing to stand. If you could stand.
Okay, so let's say you're right, and let's say Marky's right. So now let's go back to last week and the week before, and does המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה just mean you want to be mahmir? Good for you. No problem. Enjoy yourself.
But Jack,
is that what המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה means in the writings of Hakham Obadiah Yosef, or does it have more of a meaning? Is there more of a purpose?
Is it a midat hasidut? Is that what it sounds like, or is it?
I don't know, because when he deals with midat hasidut, he brings in a different line.
Right.
He tells you midat hasidut. Okay? Elu hamidhasidim. He tells you something different. And I told you, as I mentioned in the beginning of tonight's class, at least in Yahavedat, we don't find too many of those. Maybe 3, 4, and that's it.
Right.
My question boils down to: does Hakham Obadiah Yosef have a rule as to when he says המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה? Because there are many teshuvot. Like I said, I went through all 7 volumes again, stuff that I've read in the past, but I went through all 7 volumes quickly, and I was looking to see all the different times he says it, and I said in all 7 volumes, 25 times המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה.
Really?
But I
That's
couldn't
it?
find what?
25 times in all 7 volumes.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, I expected more.
That's only Yechavedat you're talking
only
about.
Yechavedat.
Okay.
Only Yechavedat. But that's hundreds of teshuvot. Okay. I expected it to be more times than that, but it's not.
For getting us more confused.
It's good. It's good to get confused. That way you're going to be thinking about it, and you're going to try to study it on your own.
No, so, I was always confused with this.
Jack, Joey.
I thought I was going to get a little bit more clarity, but it turned out to be a little bit more confusing now.
Yeah, well, that's the way we learn Torah. That's the way we learn. If we just give you simple answers, nothing happens. Okay? I'm sorry, Joe Manso wanted to say something. Please, Joe.
Jack touched on a point. I mean, I missed the first teshuvah that you read. But if something he's giving you a heter, then obviously, I mean, I'm not thinking anything specific now, but usually when there's a heter, then the majority is saying there isn't a heter. You understand? A lot of times, so then that's where he could be using Tavua la beracha. You understand what I'm saying?
I
Like
understand
most
you,
people
and
hold this way.
I would expect that to be the case, and that's why I'm surprised there's only 25 instances of Hamahmid Tavua ala Barakah, when most of the questions asked and the responses given by him seem to indicate that almost in at least 50% of the cases, he should have thrown in Hamahmid Tavua ala Barakah, because there are so many variant opinions that seem to point against his lenient approach.
But this is an example that doesn't hurt anybody. This is an example that doesn't hurt anybody.
One second, Jack, Joe was talking.
Sorry.
No, maybe it could be where he feels he's stretching the heter. That's the only thing I could think of. You know, Tavua ala Barakah, like, you know.
But Hakham Obadiah Yosef wasn't like that. Hakham Obadiah Yosef, he gave a ruling when he was sure of himself and sure of the halakha. He wasn't a guy to play around.
Look at the way
he wasn't just looking for a leniency, just so people could say, ha, Hakham Obadiah found the leniency. He wasn't like that.
Right, but that's why he probably used so few of these Tavua ala Barakah, maybe.
I don't know.
Now the way you're saying it, the reason why he's doing so few Tavua ala Barakah is because he doesn't have any doubts in most of the cases. In some cases, he feels that there is room to be mahmir, and that's why he's giving you that Tavua ala Barakah, maybe.
Could be. That's another idea. That's a different idea than we've heard so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible.
I missed that one. What did you say?
How about you ask him again?
No, I missed that. I got cut off on the thing. I got thrown off the Zoom.
You want to explain my point, or should I repeat?
No, I prefer if you repeat it.
Okay, my point is like this. Like you said, Hakham Obadiah was very, very sure of what his psak was in all of the instances. Sometimes he felt that there is room to be hoshesh and to be mahmir, and that's why it's only very few of the teshubot that he actually said Hamahmid Tavua ala Barakah. Like you mentioned, it's only 25.
You got it, Joe?
Yes.
It's a different angle. It's a different approach.
Right. It's like the opposite angle.
Right.
No, if you ask one of us in any halakha, be mahmir, why get in trouble? With Hakham Yosef wasn't like that, obviously, with Hakham Obadiah Yosef.
Right. Also, maybe, Joey, because he's talking to a general crowd. You got to also realize, you know, he's writing these fadim that could be read by all kinds. So sometimes it's a little bit of a room to be lenient, but better to be strict type of thing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No. I don't buy that, not even for half a second. Not at all. Definitely not at all. He knew he was, he was addressing the masses, and the masses included, you know, from the super religious to the super irreligious. He was very well aware of that. Yahavedat specifically I'm using also because Yahavedat, at least the 6 volumes of Yahavedat, and a number of the questions in volume 7, all are based upon his radio program.
Right, it was a radio show.
Pinat Halacha was for the average person that would call in on a Friday afternoon, you know, here's the Halacha question, boom. And Hakham Obadiah Yosef would answer him completely unprepared, you know, and give a solid answer. So he knew it was for the masses. So no, I don't buy what you're saying whatsoever. Also, as we showed last week, that Hakham Yitzhak Yosef asked him about this, you know, in the sense that, you know, he turned to his father and said, you know, you wrote A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you wrote Hamahmid Tavua ala Barakah, but tonight when you gave the class Barabim, you know, and you discussed this halakha, you only told them A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you didn't mention anything about Hamahmid Tavua ala Barakah. He goes, that's right. I will not confuse the people. I will not tell the people Hamahmid Tavua ala Barakah. I will only tell the people halakha that is equal for everybody. Somebody who wants to sit and learn, you know, the subject and be ma'ayin and look up sources and then feel that he wants to be more mahmir on a specific issue because he studied it in depth and he feels that maybe that is more appropriate, very nice for him. But only for him, not for the masses. But now here in the book, when he's writing המחמיר תבוא עליו ברכה, then the masses are reading it like you're saying, and so we have a question on Hakham Obadiah Yosef. I wish he was around for us to at least ask him, on this topic. That's what I'm pointing at right now.
The big question on you, Joey, is he just passed away a few years ago. You've been reading his Sephardim for many years. How come
It never hit me.
Uh-huh.
I'm being honest, it never hit me.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, we have to. Maybe his children asked him, and let's see what the.
Right. So according to Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef, this was the answer. What I just said. It's not for the masses. It's for the ma'ayin. If he feels he studied the issue, then he can be. According to Joe Mansell brought me last week, a audio clip from Rabbi Obadia, the son of Rabbi David Yosef, saying that, if you want to be mahmir, very nice, be mahmir. It's just nice advice. Nothing, no rhyme or reason to it.
He said it's exactly as it sounds. He goes, it's exactly as it sounds. That you want to be strict, be strict.
I can't take that answer.
Okay, but Joe Mansell asked.
What we went through tonight, I can't take that answer.
Okay, so we need to obviously we all need to investigate more. So over the course of the week, let's all do some more homework and see what we come up with. Okay.
Very nice.
We'll call it for tonight, and Be'ezrat Hashem will continue next week if Borei Olam lets us. Okay.
Very nice. Chazak u'baruch.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank